Now that we've examined some of leadership, we need to remember that leadership as a process requires there to be followers, units that are joining the leader towards this vision or goal. There are two major theories that we're going to look at here. Both of them revolve around the concept of followership. One, by Robert Kelley, suggests a two-dimensional form of followership. He gives us independent thinking on one axis and then level of participation on another. According to Kelley, there are 5 predominant types of followers. You have your exemplary follower. These are the people who are go-getters, use independent thinking, and are highly active in their participation. They want to be involved. You've got your conformists. These are people who, well, they may not think for themselves so much, but they really do want to participate, and they're actively going to try to get the goals met. They may need a little bit more guidance. Sometimes these people are called participants or pylon, and very often they're considered to be yes men. Now, both the exemplary and the conformist, they still have a high level of participation, even though the way they address the issues and how much independence they show in terms of critical thinking may be different. On the other hand, what happens when there's a low level of participation? Well, there are people who are low level participation and low level thinkers. They tend to be very passive. They're almost like a bystander, a cheerleader. Some people would call them sheep. You need to sort of prod them along to get them moving in the right direction. And they're only going to do the very minimum that they need to in order to fulfill the requirements for the task given to them. The fourth follower sometimes doesn't even feel like they're a follower. These are the alienated followers. They often feel like they're nipping at the heels of the leader, coming up with their own ideas, high critical thinking, able to come up with wonderful concepts and ideas, propose new ways of doing things. But their active participation is relatively low. While they want to get these goals met, they don't necessarily like how they're being met. And so they may actually detract in some way from the ability to get things done, because while they have great ideas and they do believe in the overall vision or concept, they're not really willing to be full partners in the process. Last but not least, Kelley tells us about the pragmatists. These are the people who will sometimes be exemplary, sometimes they'll be alienated, sometimes passive, and sometimes conformist. In nature, it sort of seems like we're all pragmatists. Sometimes, depending on the leader, the topic at hand, and the vision that we've got, we'll find ourselves acting exemplary, and other times passive. But it's important to recognize that when we're talking about researching leadership and examining previous leadership, the process that we're examining, the timing that we've put to it, will impact how we see the follower. But if we look at a different time period, we may find that the way these followers act is completely different. The same is true in the military, and it's also true in business. Now, in addition to Kelley's 2 dimensions, we have Barbara Kellerman, who provides a one-dimensional form of followership, and it's totally based on the level of engagement. She takes us through 5 levels of engagement and suggests that the followers have a sense of purpose that will drive them to actively seek out and search the ability to complete these goals based on how engaged they are with the leader and with the idea that the leader represents. The lowest level are the isolates. These are people who are not involved. They're there, they almost stand at the side, and you know they're part of the group, but they don't seem to be doing anything to improve the situation, to change the world around them. Then you have your bystanders. These are people who are probably cheerleaders. They're sitting there going, yeah, it's great, go, we love this, yes, it's great. But to actively get involved, seems kind of risky, or maybe a little bit, but only at the very end when it's necessary. Next, you've got your participants. Participants are actively engaged in the process. They self-identify as being part of the process. They want to be involved, but they're not going to take independent action so much as, needing to be nudged to be told where to go and what to do. Then you've got your activists. These are your independent thinkers, those people who really have their eye on the goal and will take action on their own to try and get it done, but they're going to set limits on how much they're willing to participate in the process the leader has set up. And last but not least, you get your diehards. These are the people who are willing to die for the idea and for the leader or for the leader. That is to say, people who are so invested in the idea, in the vision, or are so invested in the leader and what the leader represents to them that they are quite literally willing to die should the need arise. Now, sometimes diehards aren't talking in terms of physical death, but they kill their life, as it were, in order to please the leadership and continue in pursuit of the goal. People who work from 6 in the morning until 12 at night, day after day, but they do it not because of the paycheck, but because of what they believe is important and what they want to do. This one variable engagement can have a massive impact on how the follower sees the leader and what the follower is willing to do in order to help leadership maintain the strategies that they've decided are best for the future. We might ask, why is followership important? Well, followership gives us 2 very important things. One, it helps us to understand both sides of the relationship, not just the side of the leader down, but also the follower's response to that leadership. And two, it gives us a sense of whether or not there is a mutual purpose set, a mutual vision. So when we talk about the relationship, we're going to have to look at things like, how did traits plus styles plus skills plus followership all work together to create the leadership followership dynamic that we need to examine when discussing leadership? Talk more about that in class. See you soon.